Greetings everyone, this is Ronin Mac doing part 2 of my history of gaming. This one's going to be broken into 2 parts just because I had so much gameplay footage. It was well over my 15-minute mark, so I cut it in 2. Here we're jumping into Rome Total War. I spent a lot of hours on this one as well. Ended up having to skip by Medieval Total War, which was another epic game for me, but played that one so much my discs no longer function. I wasn't able to reinstall it. Medieval was pretty much the same engine as the original Shogun. Graphics were a little better. The map was a little more involved, but the play style and the graphic style were virtually identical to Shogun, just a little bit improved. Now you can see we're on the campaign map of Rome. Campaign maps quite a bit of upgrade over the previous installments. You're always able to dial into details. Each character has their own attributes. You can see my spy in the city. He's able to ascertain the units inside there. With this game, there's 3 factions in the Roman Empire. The Brutii, the Julii, and the Scipii. I'm playing as the Scipii this time. They're pretty similar as far as the units that they can recruit. And you can see the Roman Senate has given me a mission, and these missions are really important, especially initially, because you can get money, which is in short supply at the beginning of the game, or special units that you're not able to recruit in your own right. Kind of looking here, this is another new feature, the family tree. You can see they've got the faction leader, the heir, and other members of the family. Some are too young to be effective units. Once your sons get to an age, they become generals on the field of battle, or governors for your provinces as well. The daughters really don't, they're not huge players, other than they can be married off to other generals, and those generals join your faction. So not huge on the women's lib back in those days. Now you've always got your advisors. As you learn to play the game, you need to listen to them quite a bit less. But it'll give you the breakdown of how many men each side has, project who will probably win, and then you can decide whether to attack or not. So we're going to break into the combat screen. Now you can see the famous general speeches here. And an interesting part was they would speeches would be different depending on who you were fighting, that general's history with them, and your history of combat. So he'd kind of give you a breakdown of the situation at the time. And it gives you kind of a breakdown of the units that you have out there. Then once he gets to the end of his speech, they'll all kind of cheer and pound their weapons to their shields in preparation. Okay, and I broke my army up into 2 points here. The siege battles are really kind of less than thrilling initially, because nobody has enough money to amass huge armies. So his army is way too small to defend all the walls, and mine's way too small to attack all the walls. So kind of try to keep my general away from the archer fire. You'll see they shoot arrows out of their towers, as well as the men that they have on the wall will shoot. You can see graphically how vastly improved this is over Shogun. A lot more detail. I mean, it seems fairly Spartan by today's standards, but it was certainly, you know, 5 or 6 times, if not more, better than the previous incarnations. I'd have to say Rome is probably my favorite setting for any of the Total War games, just because there was so much variety and of units. I mean, I'm fighting the Greek states here. They're famous for their hoplite spearmen, but fighting the Greeks versus the, you know, Macedonians versus the Egyptians or Carthaginians. Strategy was always different, just based on who we were fighting, because they had different units that had different strengths and weaknesses, and you would have to come up with different plans of attack to tackle them. Now I've got one unit of hoplite mercenaries that I recruited there just to kind of bolster my ground presence. And you can see another interesting thing was the gateways had the boiling oil, and you can see that they're dumping that down onto my battering ram as I try to break through the gate. And then I've got a couple small ladder units to scale the walls, and he's got nobody on the wall because he's so thin on the ground also. And he was smart enough to keep his hoplites on the ground because they're far more effective there than they would be on the walls. With their, you know, long spears and their tight formations, they can defend a lot better. And early on, the Hastati Roman precursors to the Roman legions, way more powerful in skirmishing than any other unit. You can see that I've got some of mine up on the wall there. They throw their little javelins and then rush into combat. They're gonna chew those guys up pretty quickly. Now we've broken through the walls, and they're gonna run through, me forgetting that they're gonna get doused by oil as they come through the gates because we don't control the gates, so that's gonna cost them. The other Hastatis up on the wall, they're pretty handily going to win against the archers because they're way better armored and equipped for melee fighting. Whereas these guys are going to meet their match with the hoplites down there. And my Velites, which are skirmisher javelin throwers, I foolishly left too many units close to the towers to get picked apart by the archer fire. You can see the Hastati there have defeated all the defenders, so I'm going to have them capture the gateway so the hoplites can get through. And these guys have been quite handily defeated by the Greek hoplites inside. But I do have 2 units up on the wall. And we've captured both the gates, but now they still control all the towers, so each and every tower I don't control is going to be shooting at me. But you can see we own the gates, so they're going to open and let the mercenary unit in. So Roland allowed for a lot more detail, you know, siege attacks, flaming arrows, different siege equipment. You can see the guys are going down the towers. They're going to come out the little doorway there and be in a position to attack the hoplites. That beat off my first ground assault, but now it's going to be 2 units on one, and once they get enough guys out and form up, they're going to chuck their javelins and run into the melee combat. So my Velites shamelessly ran away. They're going to turn around and engage in their defense. You can see they try to stay in their spear formation. At a certain point, once they're fully engaged, they'll get rid of the spears and go into sword and shield mode, and they're still effective, just not as effective once they're not in their spear wall formation. You can see they've got some more hoplites coming around the back side, so I'm going to engage them with my you can see that they have some other guys with swords. Some are still in the spear wall, but they try to run away. And your units will tend to attack them. So I hold off on chasing, and we'll have to go to part 2.